Love hurts because we're kind of pregnant with a fire inside, and Dogman's cordially invited to September the 5th. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Offscreen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Hello, and welcome back to another week of Offscreen, where we dive deep into some of the brand new movies that are out this week. Van gets to see them first, of course, because he's a movie critic, and we just discuss them. So we've got quite a lot coming up, actually. And you literally said to me off air a moment ago, the ones that you would expect to be great aren't so great, and the ones that you think might be a bit rubbish are actually really good.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Before we start though this week, I've been waiting years for this, so I finally get to ask the question, Mr. Ball, how was The Raid? I know this week you finally watched. It's taken you 6 years. I tracked down the dubbed version for you. I got you the dubbed version to watch. It's been 6 years you and I have worked together, and I've said to you all the entire time, watch The Raid. You've now watched The Raid. How was The Raid?
It was really good, yeah. I watched it start to finish, didn't stop, didn't fall asleep, which is, an accomplishment for me. And actually, it's just wall-to-wall violence and grim stuff, and I loved it. Like, it was really, really good. And actually, I didn't mind the dubbed part of it at all. I got into it that much.
Yeah, I really love that movie. It's so good. I can't wait to visit.
Good choice.
Now that you've put your stamp of approval on it, I'll give it my rewatch. Alas, the first one we're going to talk about this week is, in many ways, it's kind of a throwback in a sense as well. But this is on Prime Video. I wanted to review this for last week, couldn't get a hold of the press link in time, and it's the new movie that basically combines the heavyweight rom-com talents of Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell. Of all people.
I know, weird.
Did you have that coupling on your bingo cards?
No, I saw them doing some promo on a chat show, and I thought, they're obviously on for two different movies that they're in, and it's like the same movie.
They're the same movie. So, and it presents from the poster, it looks like a rom-com, and then you think, and then you start watching it, it's like, clearly this isn't a rom-com, but it then sort of becomes a rom-com. You're like, I had to check, and they are a decade apart. He's only a decade. He's like 9 years older than her. He's 57, she's 48, I think.
Wow.
Okay, I weirdly thought that would be a bit more of an age gap, but okay, fair enough. Anyway, the premise of this effectively mashes together Bride Wars and Father of the Bride. So you've got two weddings that accidentally book the same venue on the same weekend. Like, Will Ferrell calls up and gets the little old lady who runs this bespoke country inn, and she literally dies before she can write down the booking. And then when her son takes over the position with less than a week later, the sister of the bride of another party phones through and books their wedding on the same weekend. The island can only fit one wedding. Both families turn up. And you've basically got Will Ferrell as the father of the bride, sort of the lone widowed father of the bride, on the one side, who's trying to make his daughter's dream wedding happen. And you've got Reese Witherspoon, who's the overzealous spinster, corporate, lives for her job type, sister of the bride, who's trying to make her sister's dream wedding come true as well. I've got a clip for you. This is the pair checking in and discovering this unfortunate administrative snafu.
My name is Margot Buckley. My sister is Nev Buckley, and she's getting married this weekend.
Hold on. I think there might be a little mistake, because my daughter's getting married. Jenny Caldwell. It's booked. We booked the weekend.
Well, now, I only have Nev Buckley written down here.
No, that's not possible. That's literally impossible.
I'm looking at the book.
Okay, well, look at the book again. I spoke to your mother, Scarlett. She booked it. In fact, bring her out. Scarlett! Get out here! Scarlett, it's Jim!
Oh, she passed last summer.
Oh, that's
Sorry
terrible.
for your
I'm
loss.
sorry.
Thank you. She meant so much to this place.
That being said, I spoke with her last summer.
When?
June 15th.
That is the day that she died.
Here.
Do you know, I've always been a fan of Reese Witherspoon since Legally Blonde. I've always really liked her. And I kind of feel, from watching the trailer to this and, hearing what you've said, this is kind of a wholesome Sunday afternoon kind of movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty disposable, like, hour 50 long kind of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Wedding Crashers type effort. It's written and directed, incidentally, by the man behind Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Nicholas Stoller. who then did the sort of follow-up Get Into the Greek, which has now entered, the stuff of legend because nearly everyone in that movie has been cancelled and or imprisoned. It's the weirdest movie, Get Into the Greek. But I have a real soft spot for Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and of course, Nicholas Stoller has a hand in movies like he did Bros, for instance. Had a hand in the Muppets movie in 2012 as well, also with Jason Segel from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This, unfortunately, just it never feels anything more than the sum of its parts. Like, it really does feel like a functional movie rather than one you enjoy. Like, there's nothing about it that's iconic or especially memorable.
Does it have the laughs, though?
It has one or two. There is. I'll be honest with you. The most fun I had with it really was seeing Will Ferrell play, the widowed girl dad, in a way that when Will Ferrell really leans in hard and overcommits, and he does a performance as an elf. Like when he's the unknowing fish out of water, like in Elf, he's at his best. And he gets a bit of that here where, for instance, he doesn't realise how unintentionally creepy his relationship with his daughter is sometimes, for instance. And it's kind of freaking everyone else in the room that he and his daughter are just completely innocuous to this fact. She, incidentally, is played by Geraldine Viswanathan from Blockers. She was one of the three daughters in Blockers. I believe she was John Cena's daughter. And she's great fun here. Like, she overshadows Reese Witherspoon somewhat effortlessly. She and Will Ferrell together in particular really overshadow Reese Witherspoon, who's getting kind of saddled with quite an unlikable, hard-ass character that I don't think Reese Witherspoon's level of likability can quite overcome. Like, she's leaning a bit more on the orgy shuck, Sweet Home Alabama shtick, and they've got Celia Weston in there to play her, grumpy curmudgeon mum, which works pretty well. But I feel like Reese Witherspoon doesn't come away from it quite as well as Will Ferrell does. And to be fair, no one's coming away with this as the best thing on their resume, because it's a 3-star film at best. But like you say, as a trash thing you dump on streaming on a Sunday afternoon, which presumably is where this is going to find most of its audience, it kind of gets the job done.
Yeah. Sit down after a roast dinner, shove it on, get ready for work, all that kind of stuff. Well, you can make your own mind up because this is on Prime Video, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Prime Video, this one.
There you go. So you can stream it from the comfort of your own home without having to wait. So just search.
You're Cordially Invited, isn't it?
You're Cordially Invited. Yeah. Right, still to come then on Off Screen this week. We're going to look at The Fire Inside in a moment. Love Hurts. We've got Dogman. We've got Kinda Pregnant, which is the one that I'm tipping as I would tip as being a really bad movie with a title like that. It's like, but I don't know. Van hasn't let me know.
Not spoiling it.
No spoilers here. And September the 5th we're going to look at as well. So all of that still to come. We will be back in a few. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. Let's dive straight into our next movie. So we are going to look at The Fire Inside, which is out in cinemas from today. And is this a boxing docudrama?
No, this is a true story boxing drama. Like, it's a straight, narratized drama.
Right.
It's based on a true story. And I believe it's Clarissa Shields from Flint, Michigan, who in the 2012 Olympics, the London Olympics, was the American female, I think she was middleweight or heavyweight boxing champ, and wound up because she had come from relative poverty and had sort of beaten the odds. She was the first young female boxer taken into the local gym, etc. And when she got to the Olympics, she wound up becoming a trailblazer for basically the rights of equal pay, comparable pay for women in professional sport. She wound up, instead of being offered this huge settlement, she went, I want this for all, or otherwise, none for me. That's basically the story that this is all building to. It's brought to the screen and directed by cinematographer turned director Rachel Morrison. And he has a script by Barry Jenkins, of all people. Barry Jenkins, Moonlight Barry Jenkins, If Beale Street Could Talk Barry Jenkins, and most recently, for some reason that no one can explain, Mufasa, the Lion King Barry Jenkins. Okay, one day it'll all make sense. In the meanwhile, though, this stars Brian Tyree Henry as the coach and Ryan Destiny as the in-training Clarissa Shields. Have a listen. This is The Fire Inside.
You go over there and you show them that you were too damn good to be ignored, you hear me? Because that first gold medal, that was for Flint. But your next one, that was for you, Mercer. You hear me? Because you deserve that. You do. Come here. Come on.
Is this a movie where you feel afterwards like you've learnt something and you like punch the air, going, yeah, good for her, that kind of feel-good movie?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it leaves far too much for its third act, as far as the meat of the story, because the meat of the story is her becoming the empowering figure that she does for other women in the sport, and that is really confined to the final third. Now, obviously, I know there's a lot of the underdog sports drama that you have to get out of the way, but you feel like that overshadows too much of the film. And that really there was more fun in the drama. There's more interest to be had in the drama that comes sort of after that. Having said that, though, it is, even though it is quite by the numbers in its storytelling, it is held up by a sort of a nicely raw bit of writing from Jenkins and some really good performances from both Ryan Destiny and Brian Tyree Henry. I mean, she's a little firecracker. She's terrific. Like she's you know, she's someone, she manages to have this great performance predicated largely not on dialogue. It is down to a glare, and it is the way you get a lot from just a glance from her. But Brian Tyree Henry kind of gets to be the more verbal, vocal heart of the piece, as the coach, who at one point isn't allowed to go along to the Olympics, for instance, and cheer her on. It's just sort of expected that he will sort of hand her over to an Olympic coach. And like that's part of the story that I really never would have thought. I thought it was really interesting. And also the second movie this week that we're going to talk about that takes place at the Olympics. So weird week for that one. But yeah, I really liked this. It was a cut above what I expected. I would put it on par with, say, Southpaw, with Jake Gyllenhaal, if you ever saw that one, Jake Gyllenhaal and Rachel McAdams. I would put it on par with that in terms of, okay, this is something unexpected. This is a cut above. Still not brilliant. It's not that remarkable. I don't think I'll remember it 3 months from now. But yeah, pretty good.
Well, if you want to see it, you can. It's in cinemas from today. Just search for The Fire Inside. Right then, on to our next one. We're going to look at Love Hurts now. So this is an action comedy. I know nothing about this one, actually.
So this is the new one from 87 North. You know, my favourite action label, the guys that gave us John Wick and Atomic Blonde and Nobody and Violent Night and, you know, all the good fun, Bullet Train, you know, all the fun action stuff that I get out of bed in the morning for. So this is their latest one. It stars Ki-Hu Kwan, you know, who won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, former member of the Goonies, Short Round from Indiana Jones, you know, turned grown up sort of you know, career resurgence story. He's got an immense comeback story. Wound up in Loki. I think most recently, the last thing I saw him in was season 2 of Loki. On Marvel Studios' show. This sees him as effectively the star of his own version of Nobody. He is a sort of unassuming real estate agent who's just going through his petty little life, you know, drawing his joy from the minutiae of this sort of 40-year-old virgin-like, you know, suburban life that he has. Only for that life to become completely upended when, well, presumed dead figures from his unmentioned shadowy past as a crime lord and assassin come back to haunt him. And his new life starts to intersect and face head-on with his old one. Have a listen. This is him being sent threatening notes in the form of Valentine's cards, because, by the way, this is a Valentine's-themed action movie. This is him being sent Valentine's-themed threats in his mail, being given to him by his assistant.
The Reavers called about the Emerald Springs house. They're such freaks, but they want to take a look at it.
Great, schedule it. After today's open house, I think it's going to be competitive.
Yeah. Looks like someone's got a secret admirer. Who's it from? Mark, are you all right?
Not feeling great all of a sudden. I just need a minute.
Yeah. Don't forget the office party.
God, it sounds like a proper horror there with the old tension music in the background, doesn't it?
It's in terms of it's quite cartoony, and in terms of that, I would compare it to something like Wanted. You know how Wanted obviously took place in the real world, but then it had that little bit of cartooniness on top. I would say this sits about there. It's not as outright surreal as Everything Everywhere All at Once, but it is quite cartoony to look at. But because it's sadly without real heft, you wind up feeling something quite close to Gunpowder Milkshake, but without the sort of, without the gimmick and novelty of feminism. If you could imagine such a thing. Which, yes, that was a damning statement about Gunpowder Milkshake. It is quite a neat little throwback to sort of 2008 in a way, though. Like I say, it reminds you of Wanted. Wanted was 2008. It makes you think of movies of that kind of time. So much so that it features Leo, formerly Anna Lee Tipton, and Cam Gigadent, who are from she's from Crazy Stupid Love, and America's Next Top Model. He was from the OC and Twilight, and it feels like such a 2000s throwback in that way. It was like a weird little thing to interject. Ariana DeBose is good fun in it as well as the sort of love interest / co-badass, and Ki Hu Kwan obviously gets to show off that he's still got the martial arts chops. It is an 87 North movie, so you know the action is going to be of a certain caliber. If you've seen John Wick, if you've seen Nobody, those kind of movies, you know the standard of fight scene that you're going to be getting here. And it is directed by Jonathan Asubio, who was a second unit director on previous 87 North movies like The Fall Guy and things like that, and has sort of ascended through their program. So they are cultivating something of an 87 North graduating directors academy, it would seem, where these directors are ascending through the ranks, because don't forget, this whole operation was started by stuntmen. These were the stuntmen from The Matrix, and then just sort of got to making the movies themselves and producing their own film school effectively. And this is the latest installment of that. It is not their strongest. I would say it is one of their weakest offerings, like as a studio, as a brand. I would say it's probably about as successful as Atomic Blonde, maybe, in that rank. It's nowhere near as much fun or as accessible as Nobody, or it's not as pulp fun as Violent Night. In terms of just cinematic caliber, it can't compare to any of the John Wick movies, sadly.
Well, Love Hurts is in cinemas from today if you want to give it a go. Still to come, just weird titles, Dogman Kinda Pregnant. We're going to look at both of those two movies.
Sounds like an awful tabloid headline, doesn't it? Dogman Kinda Pregnant.
And we'll find out what that headline means next. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. Two movies to talk about now. We're going to look at Kinda Pregnant in a moment, but first, something for the family. Dogman.
Yes, Dogman, which is the feature film adaptation of the best-selling children's books. I want to say, I presume there's more than one of them of the same name. Now, you are the one who has a child of relevant age on this one. So I would imagine you must have encountered this character, this story before. Have you?
I personally haven't. I don't know. He has YouTube Kids, so he may well have watched stuff like this before on YouTube.
Okay. An ex of mine told me that one of her kids was really into it and that there was a movie coming, but that was many years ago and I sort of forgot about it. And now it's obviously here. So, based on the books of the same name, brought to the screen by Peter Hastings, who has been a writer and producer on things like Pinky and the Brain and Teenage Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. I'll say, adaptation of the source material, and brace yourself for this because I did not know this was the plot of Dogman. Dogman is a police officer who has the body of a person and the head of a dog. And his origin story is that he was a policeman and a police dog, and they were chasing a bad guy, Petey, the bad guy, the worst cat in the world, or something like that, the villain. And they got caught in an explosion, and the bomb trapped them, and they got rushed to hospital. And so they put the dog's head onto the cop's body, and they created Dogman. Don't think too much about it. That is basically what we're told. and if you think that premise is weirdly close to RoboCop, just you wait until I tell you that at one point they genuinely have that sequence from RoboCop when he goes back to his home and it's been cleared out by the estate agents, and he has all the trauma flashbacks as he walks around. They actually do that. They actually do that here in this kids' movie. And instead of having flashbacks to, like, you know, his family, and it's just the man and his dog just chilling in their home, but it's done in the exact cadence of RoboCop. I was on the edge of my seat just squeeing with delight. It was amazing. Anyway,
do you think that was intentional, or do you think it's just happened as part of the story?
No, I think that is absolutely intentional. Somebody involved in the writing of this is sick as all hell, and I adore them for it.
Brilliant.
From there, what you get is a movie in which Dogman sets out to capture Pete, the bad guy cat, who is voiced by Pete Davidson, who himself is on something of an evil scheme. He's tried to create a clone of himself so that he can take down Dogman without counting on the fact that the clone's going to come out as a child. And the child winds up getting kicked out and going and living with Dogman and becoming Dogman's best friend / surrogate son, and teaching him about his humanity and family and love. And this is insane. I love this movie. Have a listen. This is the this clip is the mayor and the police chief who are antagonized by how Pete keeps getting locked up and then manipulating his way out of cat jail. Have a listen.
Petey escaped again.
Again?
Yeah, that's why I said again, yet again. I have had it. Dogman has got to go.
What? Listen, Mayor, don't you think the problem might be at cat jail?
Excuse me? Are you saying my brother is bad at running cat jail?
Your brother?
I want Dogman off the Petey case, and I want Petey captured. Gabish? That's English for ASAP.
Wait, Mayor. Dogman is the champ of catching Petey. That's not fair.
Oh, that's not fair? That's not fair. Here, call this number.
Life's not fair.
What?
Life's not fair.
That's brilliant. I really like the sound of this. I genuinely... what I would like to know is, obviously, it's targeted at kids, but does it have a lot of the jokes that will go over the kids' heads that the adults can chuckle about as well?
You heard me when I was telling you they inserted the trauma flashback sequence of RoboCop, right? There's not a kid alive that's understanding that. But at one point, they genuinely have outright nods to Aliens and Die Hard in here. So there's loads of action movie quips. This is way better than I expected it to be, because I was honestly expecting Paw Patrol. But I was really honest.
Yeah.
Not knowing what Dogman was, I was thinking, this is just going to be like a Paw Patrol type thing, isn't it? And I saw another animated family movie right after this that we'll talk about next week that really was just another like Paw Patrol grade kind of thing. But this actually had some teeth. It's got an interesting supporting cast. You could hear Lil Rel Howley in the clip as the chief. Also in there is Isla Fisher as the journalist Sarah Hatoff. I think her name is. Constantly got her hat off. It's one of those. It's not quite Wallace and Gromit level humor, but it comes quite close to Mr. Peabody and Sherman from 2014 with Ty Burrell, which I know I've recommended to you for you and your son in the past. Honestly, watch that movie. It's so good, and it's loads of like gags about history and ancient Egypt and Rome and stuff like that both work as dad jokes. And anyway, I'm selling a movie that isn't this. This is not as good as Mr. Peabody and Sherman, but I had a good time with it. And like I say, I loved all the weird little like for the dads nods. This is one like clearly like they're expecting like dads to be lumbered with the kids at the cinema for kind of thing, and it really feels like, okay, we got you, bros. Here's some acknowledgement of some Bruce Willis films for you. You know,
I love that.
Dadding for the day. Yeah, it was very much one of those. I had a good time with it. I did have a good time with it. Did not expect it, but it was a nice left field animated surprise, I thought.
And Dogman is out in cinemas from today. Right then, let's dive into our next movie with your favourite female actress in, Amy Schumer. This one's called Kinda Pregnant. So, What do you think?
I mean, you say that. I was firmly on the Amy Schumer train back in about 2015 when she did Trainwreck.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, and I was a big fan of the Amy Schumer show. I forget what he was.
You jumped off it, though.
I jumped off the train because as soon as she hit big, like it just got very formulaic very quickly. And I can now genuinely say that with the release of this new one, which is interestingly enough made straight for Netflix, her career, her filmography has finally tipped over into becoming like a South Park level parody of her filmography. You know, in that way that South Park famously did the Rob Schneider, Durka, Durka, Dur.
Yeah.
It's that. It feels like the Amy Schumer, Durka, Durka, Dur. And that's what every one of these films feels like now. Anyway, let's not bury the lead. Kind of Pregnant. New one from director Tyler Spindell, has been co-written with Amy Schumer, who, if you follow basic tabloids, if you have any exposed to tabloids, I believe Amy Schumer became a mum in the past 2 years. I think that happened. And I would imagine that has somewhat informed this story to an extent. The gimmick here is that she is a woman whose relationship, whose like 4-year-long relationship, comes to an unexpected end when she's expecting a proposal, and her ensuing spiral into depression coincides with her best friend. Sorry, I thought she was the younger sister for most of the movie, but her best friend announcing her pregnancy. And asking her, her best mate, like, step in and help her out, like, with the birth, etc. Into this mix, she also, having always wanted to be her mum herself, feels like she's going to miss out on the experience. So she puts on a prosthetic pregnancy belly and basically goes along to like a mum's, like, Lamar's teaching class to, experience sort of motherhood from the inside, only to get trapped in a lie when she winds up befriending one of the other mums. And do you think all of this is going to come together and pay off and expose her in some sort of horrific way? Because, I'll have a listen.
Lainey, I didn't want to tell you right now. Please don't be mad.
Stop. Why would I be mad at you? Baby, I'm so happy for you.
Well, I mean... Yes, but you just, this is terrible timing. I thought that you would be engaged and I'd be pregnant and it'd be so nice, but
No, it's fine. It is nice. It's amazing. You're having a baby.
Oh, it's so weird.
So crazy. Oh, my God. Thank you for knowing I was going to need to eat.
Yeah, I knew.
So she's finally won you over again, then. That's good news. I'm pleased to hear.
No, she has not in any way won me over. This is bad. This is really bad.
I thought you meant that she's tipped it the other way now and you're back to liking her again.
No. This is she has tipped her filmography into that South Park level of, parody of her filmography.
I thought that was a great thing.
No, that's a very bad thing. No one wants to be Reb Schneider to Durka. Honestly, her entire filmography at this stage is starting to resemble like the fictional line of movies from like a season of Entourage, like the made-up crap movies that they put Vincent Chase in. That's what this is starting to feel like. Or the Tracy Jordan filmography from 30 Rock, Who Dat Ninja, and things like that. It's starting to reach that stage. This is bad. I mean, I thought I Feel Pretty was unfunny, ill-judged, badly written slop. But this makes that look accomplished. This makes that look like Forrest Gump.
If you could change anything about it, then what would you change? If you had like a magic wand?
I would change the curvature of the Earth so that it rotated in the opposite direction and time went backwards. And if time went backwards like it does in Superman, the original Superman movie, we could go back to like this morning before I hit play and watched it, and I'd stop myself from watching it because I actively feel dumber. I feel like I've lost IQ points for having seen this. I feel like it's lowered my opinion of Lizzie Broadway from Gen V, the Boys spin-off. I actually feel at one point there was a bit of moisture on my earlobe that I couldn't account for, and I feel like in hindsight that was a small piece of my brain liquefying and just pouring out of my cerebellum along my ear canal, just dripping down my chin into my beard, and I just didn't notice. I felt like that's what was happening all the way through this. Even though it's on Netflix of all places, even if you are a Netflix subscriber, don't waste the time watching this. It's crap.
But if you do want to see the inside of your ear and your brain, you can watch Kinda Pregnant because it's on Netflix already. So go and waste your time and watch your ears bleed if you want to. Right, okay. Well, that's that one dusted and done. We're moving on to September 5th. It's our last movie to talk about, and we'll see what Van thought of that in just a second. Stay there. Hello and welcome back then to Offscreen for one last ride. We are looking at September 5th in cinemas from today, and this is what you alluded to when you said there is another movie involving Olympics. So this is about the 1972 Summer Olympics in Germany, isn't it?
It is, in Munich specifically. You may remember the defining incident of these Olympics.
I was not alive in 1972. How dare you?
Well, they have obviously been immortalised cinematically for the past 20 years, thanks to Spielberg's Munich. The story of the terrorist attack on the Munich Olympics that saw a hostage situation and murder of several members of the Israeli Olympic team.
Wow.
Spielberg famously depicted this in the movie Munich, which was also about the retaliation by the Israeli Defense Forces as they literally searched the world for the perpetrators. And according to that movie, did find them. This takes the on-the-ground perspective of the actual initial attack itself, which is held as being the first terrorist attack that ever took place on live television. In that, right, this actually gave us the birth of rolling news as we know it. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, none of those exist if the events of this movie don't take place. So the story goes that in 1972, during the Olympics, ABC, using then relatively new satellite broadcast technology, sent its reporting team to cover the Olympics, along with Peter Jennings as their reporter. And when the terrorist incident broke out, being the nearest news journalistic crew who had the ability to transmit images and with satellite access, they became the de facto on-the-ground news team covering events as they unfolded. And this was how the world saw this depicted. Like I say, first terrorist attack ever actually depicted on live television, the first time we ever saw rolling news. So I've got a clip for you. This is bear in mind, sports journalists debating the efficacy of exactly what it is that they're covering.
You don't want anybody to see their kid executed on live television. No. So I don't know about the Israelis, but David Berger's folks are in Ohio. So I'm pretty sure they'll watch.
Well, someone should tell them not to watch it, but we have a bigger responsibility here.
What about the sponsors?
The sponsors are not going to be concerned. All they
Guys,
care
we have
about
2 minutes.
are viewers. Okay.
So is that what we're trying to achieve here? Is ratings?
No, we're following the story wherever it takes us.
All right, then let me ask you this. Black September, they know the whole world is watching, right? That's why they chose the Olympics. If they shoot someone on live television, wait, whose story is that? Is it ours or is it theirs?
Whoa, deep stuff. And I'm assuming that they filled this wall to wall with real life footage.
Oh, there's lots of what looks like the original footage in there. It's very well done. I mean, it does feel like Munich light, because for one thing, it's quite a short and punchy film. It's like 90 minutes. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It pretty much just starts with events kicking off and takes you through to pretty much when events stop. It doesn't really cover too much of the before or after. This is the in the thick of it events and watch it and how these people, as depicted here, reacted to it. Great cast that includes Peter Sarsgaard, that's got Ben Chaplin, you could hear in the clip there, and John Margaro, I think was seen in Past Lives last year. The Celine Song movie. He was very good in that, known to a lot of people for. He was a breakout star from the Mad Men days when Mad Men was at its heyday. He was one of the breakout stars from that, and he's very good here as really the sort of central figure who we spend most of the film following, but it is kind of an ensemble piece and very similar in a sense to Saturday Night, even though obviously this is about a terrorist attack, that is about getting a comedy show on the air, but it has a similar cadence and patois to Saturday Night that we were talking about last week, but obviously there's a lot more urgency and a lot more more of a human cost to this one. I thought very good. Directed by Tim Feldbaum, who I think had directed The Colony, sci-fi movie I quite liked like 10 years or so ago. And I thought it was a much less mainstream, more edgy genre type director than this. But I'm quite impressed by what he's done here. This is actually quite a solid bit of, drama thriller terrain. So I quite liked it. I'm not shocked that it's not a big, awards contender, but because it does feel like this would have been intended to be this year's spotlight. But I think when you've got this being quite similar to Saturday Night, I think the reverence of Saturday Night Live kind of pushes this aside to a degree. It's not quite of the caliber that it can overtake that institutional love. But I really like the film.
How rigidly have they stuck to the actual narrative of the real story then? Like, is it literally word for word?
I mean, obviously, I don't know the the word for word, but I can vouch for most of the events being depicted as being quite accurate. I'm sure there's a few little things here and there that are out of step, but it fits what I knew of the events.
Well, September 5th is in cinemas from today, so you can go and watch it over the weekend if you fancy. Movie of the week then, Van. I don't really know where you're going to go on this one. I couldn't call it.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to give it to Dogman. It won me over. I'm giving Dogman film of the week. Screw it. Dogman's having film of the week. Good boy, Dogman. Good boy.
And coming up next week, then, let's look at some of these movies that are ahead. We're going to look at The Sloth Lane.
The Sloth Lane, which is a new animated family movie I think I alluded to when we were talking about Dogman. Another animated one next week, looks like more of an off-kilter animated one, is Memoir of a Snail, which I think did get recognised in the Oscar nominations. We've also got the two biggies that are going head-to-head next week, which are the return of Bridget Jones in Mad About the Boy, which I have seen and I'm embargoed on. They embargoed me on Bridget Jones, which I'm like, why? But, it was a good fun kind of premiere type thing. We have also got, I'm waiting to hear back on this one because they're gatekeeping it to hell, Captain America Brave New World next week, which I'm so looking forward to. I'm a big Anthony Mackie guy, and I think everyone knows that I bleed Marvel red. So,
well, we'll see what you think to those next week at the same time, of course. That is, of course, all we have time for this time round on Off Screen. We will be back next week. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.